In terms of gaming chairs, nothing has perked my interest more than the Embody gaming chair by Herman Miller. I really like the normal Embody chair. I actually used it for several months before eventually moving on to the Steelcase Leap. There were a couple factors that made me open to switching to a new chair, and the Gaming Embody just may have the changes needed to get me to stay in this chair for a long time. I've been in it for a solid 2 weeks now, and I'm really liking it so far. I think the Embody gaming chair is the best looking gaming chair currently on the market. I don't like the look of the racing style chairs, but there aren't many options that are focused specifically on gamers. The Gaming Embody does exactly that. The all black look with blue accenting is really sharp. The chair has some added logos and tagging to cater more to gamers than the standard looking Embody. I do think that Logitech and Herman Miller did a nice job of making it look sleek and different than the normal chair without going overboard. Aside from the look of the chair, the biggest difference between the Gaming Embody and the normal Embody is going to be the seat. I'm a big fan of the seat on the normal Embody. I consider it to be A tier, with its only drawbacks being the lack of flexibility compared to other high-end chairs like the Leap or Gesture, and that sometimes you can feel the individual nodes when you move around in the chair. The structure of the Gaming Embody remains the same as standard, so you don't gain any flexibility, but the seat pad and fabric are different, and the changes are noticeable. The pad on the Gaming Embody is thicker than the standard model. It isn't a huge addition, but enough to make it feel softer. The fabric also has a pattern that makes it feel even thicker in some areas than the standard model. Because of these changes, I have not had any issues with feeling nodes in the 2 weeks that I've been using this chair. The seat depth adjustment is a bit ugly and definitely clunky, but it works as intended and ensures the chair will fit you properly. An added bonus with this seat design is that you don't get a gap in between the seat and back like you do with the Fern when you extend the seat all the way out. Overall, the seat on the Embody gaming chair for me is an A+ so far, with its only downside being that lack of flexibility. The backrest is one of the most attractive features on the Embody. The way that it is designed with the flexible plastic nodes gives you a massive range to move around in the chair. The skinny shape also adds to the range because it doesn't constrict you like a large backrest with a hard frame will do. This is one of the biggest differences between the Embody and the Aeron. There are very few chairs available right now that can compete with the range of movement the Embody's backrest offers. The one major downside with the Embody's back is the lack of an adjustable lumbar system. You can't move it up or down, and you can't make it more or less pronounced. For me, the lumbar on the standard Embody isn't great, just because the lack of padding makes me feel the plastic lumbar curve. After several hours in the chair, my back will eventually start to feel uncomfortable and I'll need a break. This is one area where I've found a big improvement with the Gaming Embody. The change in fabric really helps to give you a little bit extra cushion. I've not had a problem with the lumbar on the Gaming Embody like I did on the standard model so far using the chair. One thing I have noticed though is that the backrest is much louder on the Gaming Embody as compared to the standard model due to the difference in fabric. It's got this weird, almost crunching sound to it that is pretty pronounced. It doesn't necessarily bother me because I have my headphones on a lot, but if you don't, this could be an annoyance. The Recline on the Embody is one of its best features and one thing that really separates the top-end Herman Miller chairs from the rest of their lineup and the rest of the chairs on the market. The Embody, Aeron, and Mira 2 all have Herman Miller's harmonic tilt mechanism. The Gaming Embody comes standard with this mechanism, just like the normal Embody. The Recline is super deep with a big range and it's incredibly smooth. The tension control is extremely responsive, so you can dial it in very easily to create the most balanced recline motion possible. You get a handful of tilt limiter positions to give you even more control over the recline. You can also adjust the angle of the backrest, which is a nice feature because you can push the backrest all the way forward for upright intense gaming, and you can also tilt it all the way back to create a much more relaxing feel for things like watching movies or YouTube videos. The Embody really gives a gamer the best of everything when it comes to recline. The recline is deep enough and smooth enough to compete with the flat back style of racing style chairs, but it can also provide that nice, upright, ergonomic positioning which racing chairs can't always do. The arms on our Gaming Embody are almost identical to our standard Embody, with the only difference being that the pads are a bit more textured on the gaming version. The standard model has a noticeably smoother surface, but our standard Embody is almost 4 years old, so I'm not sure if this is a change that Herman Miller made across the board, or if this is just different on the gaming version. I think the size and the softness of the pads are really where these arm pads stand out, especially for gaming. The pads are big, flat, and soft. You can pull them all the way up to your desk to make them flush with your surface to create a really large, comfortable area to rest your arms. They're also adjustable enough to get them completely out of the way if you'd prefer to do that. They go really low and they go really high, and they have a really big width adjustment range, giving you a ton of options to make them comfortable for you. The major downside is going to be the lack of any arm cap adjustments. So you can't swivel them, pivot them, and they don't have any depth adjustment, which I would really like to see because it would make it easier for me to sit closer to my screen while still being able to use the arms flush with my desk. This is something that the Gaming Aeron does very well, and it's one of the biggest advantages the Aeron has over the Embody in general. One problem some people do have with the Embody arms is that they can be a bit clunky. This is almost always because of how annoying it can be to adjust the width. They take a decent amount of force, and sometimes it can be tough to adjust them by a small amount. The pro tip here is to pull up on the arm before adjusting the width. This will take away the clicking action and make them much smoother to move. I think the Gaming Embody is not only one of the best looking gaming chairs on the market, but also one of the best built. No gaming chair has the type of advanced technology you get from the Gaming Embody. The pixelated node system in the seat and back is unique only to this chair. The chair is made of top quality components throughout, which allows for the chair to have things like an incredibly flexible backrest while being durable enough to withstand the flexing and moving for years upon years. Let's be honest, this is Herman Miller, so we should expect top quality. But that's not what we got with the recent Herman Miller release of the Vantum. I'm not a huge fan of the Vantum gaming chair. I didn't really like it, and I didn't think it felt like a Herman Miller chair. The Embody is the exact opposite to me. The chair feels extremely solid, the materials feel high quality, and the chair is really smooth to use. You also get the best warranty in the industry should something go wrong, 12 years of guaranteed use, because Herman Miller will cover everything on the chair for that period of time, really protecting your investment. I am really liking the Gaming Embody so far. I didn't think that I'd find a chair this quickly to get me out of my fern, but I'm going to give this chair a long-term test, and I'm really excited to report back in a few months on what I think of the Gaming Embody.